Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now, today's first story comes from Ocean Boyle from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, saying, am I the arsehole for threatening to kick out stepdaughter for stealing from daughter? 4 years ago, my wife passed away due to breast cancer, leaving me 42 male and my daughters 19 female and 17 female behind. 1.5 years ago, I met Vicky, 47 female, and we quickly fell in love. Vicky has a daughter, Heather, 24 female, and together they came to live with us. Vicky and I did not get married however, so Heather isn't technically my stepdaughter. Almost from the beginning, Heather wasn't very nice towards me, to say the least. I tried to get to know her and at least establish a cordial relationship, but nothing worked. She was very disrespectful and hateful to me, but also to her mother. Heather also picked verbal fights with my daughters, but I squashed that soon after it happened. Heather was the instigator and I told her that if she had a problem, she should direct it at me instead of at my daughters. It seemed to work. Last week was Casey's, my eldest daughter's 19th birthday. I gave her a spa package treatment for 2 persons. Total $500 in the form of a gift card, and told her she could pick another person to go with. She chose her younger sister, who was happy to go. They would pick a date and make the reservation. Casey wanted to make the reservation 2 days ago but couldn't find the gift card. After hours of searching, we couldn't find it. When Heather came home, we asked if she had seen it. She told us she didn't. After another hour, Vicky found the gift card in Heather's room, against Heather's protests. After a while, Heather admitted she took the card from Casey's room and went to the spa 2 days ago with her girlfriend. I was pissed and told her that if she didn't pay Casey $500, I would kick her out. Since Heather doesn't have a job and has dropped out of college, she says she can't pay it. She's been living at my house rent-free with everything paid for. I told her if she can't pay for it, she should go live with her deadbeat father instead. She called me every name in the book and locked herself in her room. Vicky says it was an arsehole move, since she has nowhere to go and her father won't pay for her to live with him. So OP answered some questions that were relevant. So someone said, has Heather done things like this before? OP says Heather has never stolen before, this is new and I didn't see it coming. She's indicated that she doesn't like my daughters. I left this out, but my youngest daughter once cooked for the family, taking everyone's diet wishes into account as much as possible. Heather didn't even touch the food and went to Burger King. When my youngest told her she could at least try it, Heather called her a bitch. Someone asks, my dude, is your relationship with Vicky more important than your daughters? OP says, of course my daughters are way more important. I guess I was just desensitized to it with regard to this particular situation, because neither Vicky nor Heather can cook. I always cook after work and Heather never touched the food I make either. Someone says, what does Heather eat? Does she use your money to buy food? OP says, yes, Heather gets spending money every week for food, gas and other things. Someone says, so Vicky is then going to pay the $500 her daughter stole. OP says, Vicky has been a stay-at-home mum since her daughter was born. Vicky doesn't have a job. Her ex was ordered to pay alimony and child support, but he has never paid. And yes, I'm looking at Vicky in a new light. This is concerning. Someone says, what does Vicky suggest the punishment be? OP says, Vicky suggests a harsh talking to. I don't think that would help much. She doesn't even listen to her mother that often. Now to me in this one, I think OP is very generous in their offer that when they said they was pissed and they said that they need to pay the $500 back and if not, you get kicked out. You know, he's very generous that he didn't kick her out or didn't call the police right away, to be quite honest. And a harsh talking to isn't going to solve anything in this situation. And this is simply one of those cases of consequences for your actions. But any coyote says, not the arsehole, she just stole $500. That is insane. Tell her to go get a job to pay it back or she can deal with the police. Cat Lady No Cat says, and good grief, why is the 24-year-old living in the house without paying rent? Is she contributing in other ways, cleaning or cooking? No job, no further education. What does she do all day other than pick on 2 girls younger than her and steal from them? You and your partner suck for that. Edit. Wonder who the friend was she took to the spa. Wonder if it was Vicky. Loudon says, I mean, this is the hill to die on. Your priorities need to be your kids, and you're allowing a stressful and hostile living situation. Vicky needs to know. Either Heather goes or you can no longer live together. Not the arsehole. Anna Banana says, not the arsehole. Your girlfriend Vicky and Heather, a 24-year-old adult, are lucky you didn't call the cops and have her arrested. Depending on where you live, that might be considered grand larceny, which is a felony. You were very reasonable and generous, and if Heather doesn't have a job, then she can get a job at McDonald's today. And then she have the money by the end of the week. Your stepdaughter is like the poster child for fuck around and find out. Also, once Heather has paid back the stolen $500, it's time for her to move out. At that point, she'll have a job and can rent a room somewhere. One more comment from No Construction, who says, not the arsehole. OP, you should kick her out no matter what happens. She's 24 and stole from your kid who just turned 19. Someone like that might find a way to come up with the money to keep the peace, but she has no respect for you or your children if she'd do that. Nothing good can come from letting this person stay in your house. By allowing her to stay, you are telling your children you are willing to compromise with someone who would do this to them. You'd be the arsehole if you didn't kick her out, even if she does pay the money back. So OP updates the post and they say, quite some people have been asking for an update. Considering it's been a rough week and only now are things calming down, I thought I'd write an update. I sat down with my daughters and had a long conversation about Heather, my relationship with Vicky, and how I'd let it get to this point. In short, my daughters have for a long time hated Heather. They didn't have many problems with Vicky, only regarding how Vicky always lets Heather easy off the hook. I read many comments and I started doubting my relationship with Vicky. I knew it wasn't perfect, but thought we loved each other. My daughters are of the opinion that Vicky never loved me, but that I also never really loved Vicky. Especially Casey thought it was more companionship that we shared, and that I was lonely. Damn, my daughter hit the nail on the head. She was right. I didn't want to spoil my daughter's day to the spa and paid for it so that they could still go. They went a few days ago and had a blast. Regarding Heather, I essentially kicked her out. Vicky threatened to leave if I kicked Heather out, and I told Vicky she was free to also go. After that, she quickly backpedaled and told me she didn't want to go. Heather made a fuss, but I let her take her stuff and she moved out within 2 days. She is temporarily staying at a girlfriend of hers. I told Vicky that if Heather didn't pay the $500 back, we were going to call the police and report her. Vicky was horrified and called her parents. I was surprised by this because Vicky told me she had a bad relationship with her parents. As far as I know, her parents gave her the $500 and she gave the $500 to me. After this, I was about to have a difficult conversation with Vicky and wanted to tell her we are over, but she beat me to it. She told me that I treated Heather like shit because I was threatening to call the police and she couldn't live with that. I was relieved and it probably showed, prompting Vicky to call me out, asking if I was going to try and make it up to her and convince her to stay. I told her no. After this and a lot of screaming on Vicky's part, she also left. She is staying with a married couple that are close friends with her. It took a bit more time and energy to move her stuff to her friend's house. While I was there helping to move her stuff, I was essentially ignored, so I have no idea what Vicky told them. Today is the first day of peace and quiet in my house, and I already noticed that my daughters are a lot happier. That's all that matters to me. I want to thank everyone for their posts and weighing in. I gotta say, I kind of enjoyed the ending there where she was threatening to leave OP. She was like, okay, I can't deal with the way that you're treating my daughter, Heather, threatening to call the police on her, so I'm going to leave you. And OP's like, yeah, all right. And she's like, hold on, you're not going to beg me to stay or anything? And he's like, nah, see ya. And I think given the circumstances of this situation, it was a good way to end it, I think. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from Numerous Stock 2430 and says, would I be the arsehole for cancelling my daughter's 16th birthday party after warning her about it a year ago? Throw away because some people from my extended family use Reddit. English is my third language, so please excuse any mistakes. For my daughter's 15th birthday, my spouse and I paid for her to take some of her friends out to a restaurant for dinner. During this dinner/party, my daughter got into an argument with one of her friends, 15 female. Apparently my daughter was upset that this friend gave her a cheap gift bought from a thrift store. According to her best friend, 15 female, who told us what happened, my daughter seemed to like the gift at first and asked her friend where she bought it from. When the girl admitted it was from a thrift store, That is when my daughter lost it and called her names like cheap, gold digger, beggar. Translated from my language, it roughly means cheap, and other classist insults. Now it is well known that this friend's family is not well off, but I know she is a sweet girl who did her best to get my daughter a gift with her meager allowance. My spouse and I confronted our daughter about it, and she admitted she insulted her friend. She went on to insult her further by saying things like, "This is probably the only way she gets to eat at a restaurant, so she should be grateful and give a decent gift." I don't know where my daughter learned such entitlement, but she did not learn it at home. Even her best friend was uncomfortable by her behavior. We immediately took away all her gifts and donated them. We also told her that unless she apologizes to this girl in front of everyone who was present at the party, we will not be sponsoring any more of her birthdays. My daughter never apologized, and over time the girl drifted apart from the friend group. My daughter's 16th birthday is coming up next month, and she started talking about what kind of party she wants. I reminded her of our promise that we would not fund any more birthday parties until she apologized for her behavior at a previous party. Daughter is saying it's been a year and the girl is no longer her friend anyway. She said her best friend is getting her sweet 16 party. Not a thing in my culture, and how it will look if she doesn't get one. We told her she still has a month to apologize, but she is not planning to do it because she thinks we'll cave. My in-laws are offering to pay for her party, but we have forbidden them from doing that. Daughter and both sets of grandparents are telling us that we are being too harsh and ruining her social life. Would I be the arsehole if we don't give her a birthday party this year? I've just found this one incredibly sad, but you're not the arsehole to me in this situation. I think it's crucial, like as a parent, you're teaching her values of kindness and respect. You set clear expectations for her to apologize to her friend, and she's the one who's choosing not to take that responsibility for her own actions. But it's her decision, and you can't force her to be sort of empathetic or kind, but you can control how you respond to her actions. And people telling you this may have an impact on her social life, it's partially true. It may have an impact on her social life, but I think it's important to remember that she herself had that negative impact on her social life by choosing to treat her friend poorly and not apologize for her actions. She was perfectly happy with the gift until she learned it was from a thrift store, which is just incredibly sad. And the fact that this friend separated from the friend group like that, was it because of these issues that happened? Just makes it even sadder to me. But I think you should stand firm in your decision on this one. A part of me is like, teenagers doing teenage things. And I understand it would probably be absolutely humiliating for a teenager to go and apologize to a friend in front of all their other friends and all this kind of stuff. A lot of emotions going on as a teenager. I do understand that. But I still do think it's very important to take a lesson away from this. But it's not a manual says not the arsehole. Bravo to you for sticking to your guns. This is the best thing you can do for your daughter. You need to talk to your in-laws not to interfere. Opie says, my culture is very family orientated, so going against the grandparents is extremely difficult. We're being called all kinds of nasty things, from horrible parents to horrible human beings, for choosing a random stranger over our own daughter. We're standing our ground, but our hearts are breaking because of all these accusations. Jazzy knows best as not the arsehole. You are not ruining her social life. You're trying to give her an important life lesson. Teenagers can be just miserable. Hold on to the hope that she will work out her angst and turn out to be a decent human being. I believe you're doing the right thing. OP leaves her own comment saying, thank you to everyone for validating our decision and reinforcing that we are not horrible people. I really do believe we gave our daughter a reality check by taking away her gifts last year. She has not said anything so outright vile since then. I believe she thought if she stayed out of trouble for a while, which she has, we would forget about the punishment. We have made our disappointment known to her, and I really do believe she is ashamed of her actions. But she is a teenager, and making a public apology is hard, even for most adults. Nevertheless, we don't intend to back down. As for the grandparents, they live far away and can only send money via one of us. We are planning to put both grandparents on an information diet for a while. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story from Slug Kitten Mao, who says, am I the asshole for denying an older woman shelter from a storm? I, 23 female, am an avid hiker in Australia. Last week I encountered a middle-aged woman, around 50 years old, as I was coming off a trail. She was walking in my direction as I came out of the bush. It was strange to see her. The sun was almost down and the weather was starting to turn. Also, this was an intermediate collection of trails at best, difficult, even for me at worst. And she didn't look super athletic. Point is, my weird radar was going off already. She walked up to me and stopped, standing too close for my comfort, gestured towards the clearing where my car was parked and asked whether it was my car. No greeting or anything. When I looked over, something made me uncomfortable. There were no cars other than mine in sight. The trail I was on isn't crazy far from civilization, but it's not a walk away. One of those highway rest stops that's there for the trail and a few parking spots. No way could she have got there without driving. I let her know that yes, it was my car, to which she responded something like, "Perfect, there's a storm coming. I can't be caught in it and I need to get home." She was very matter of fact. It seemed like she had already decided what would happen, without even waiting for my response. She started striding for my car. I'm glad I always lock my doors because she would have hopped right in the passenger seat had the door opened. As she was walking over to it, I went after her trying to explain that I wasn't sure it was a good idea for her to hitch a ride, asking why she was out here in the first place. I was talking to a brick wall until she realized the car was locked, at which point she turned around with this look of anger and frustration on her face. She starts ranting the same stuff as before. "I need to get home. A storm is coming. I cannot be caught in it. Why don't you get it?" I was very confused at this point and I'm a little scared, as this woman was now a barrier between me and my vehicle. I told her something like, "I'm sorry, but I don't feel comfortable with having a stranger in my car." She stared me down for a few seconds, I guess trying to gauge her chances asking again. And just like that, the anger drops from her face and she's silent. I was really uncomfortable. I asked if I could call someone, if there was another way to help. She starts walking towards me, scary, but then right past me. I'm still asking her questions, then just saying things like "hello" and "excuse me." No response. She walked to the other end of the rest stop and maintained eye contact with me as she sat down on a log, then just stared at nothing. I didn't follow her. I got into my car really shaken up and drove away. As soon as I was back in cell range, I called fire and rescue and said they would send someone out. I was scared for my safety in the moment, but she was just some woman alone in the middle of nowhere. Am I the arsehole for refusing this strange woman a ride/shelter in my car? Nah, not the arsehole in this situation. From the way you explained it, it didn't sound like a safe situation. And you didn't just leave her to by herself and just go home or whatever. You called an authority to go and check on her to make sure she was okay. You just didn't leave her abandoned. If someone approached me the way that you was approached in this and just went for your car without speaking to you, etc., I wouldn't be letting them in either. Like yourself, I would certainly seek some concern, especially with the way they was acting. You don't know what's going on. So yeah, calling some kind of authority to go and check on them, to do some kind of check, some welfare kind of check, is the best way forward. Not to put yourself in danger at the same time, because you don't know who that person is. They might be completely harmless, but it certainly didn't give that kind of indication from this story. But no Yogurt Closet says not the arsehole. I think calling fire and rescue was a kind thing to do. Youth says not the arsehole. You called for assistance for her as soon as you were able. Good. Was there a storm coming? It would be an indicator if the woman was more or less stable mentally. I can tell her attitude rattled you. You didn't owe some random demanding woman a ride, ever. But was a storm coming? Opie says, "Thanks for the reply. A mild storm, but a storm nonetheless. On my way back, a light rain started up with some fair wind." There was a story round in Oxfordshire that happened, I think it was about 3 or so years back. Not completely relevant to this, but it popped into my head as I was reading it. And I think it's a pretty well-known scam these days that this person was driving down one of the English country roads. They're not traveled down like constantly. You only get a car down there like once an hour or whatever. And they saw a baby seat in the side, like with a cover over the top of it. So you couldn't see if there was a baby in there or not. But this person immediately stopped, jumped out the car because they was worried that like, shit, there's a baby there. And as they went to it, someone jumped out the bush, jumped in their car and took off. And it just sort of served as a reminder that you never know what's out there, you know. I'm also not saying, you know, fuck everyone else or anything like that. I'm just basically saying you need to look after your own safety as well. The Asian said, not the arsehole, of course. In my country, women are sometimes the bait for traps like this. Someone could have been hiding and waiting for you to open your car so they can steal it. Also, you called services to pick her up. I think you went above and beyond. One more comment from Catbird, who says, not the arsehole. Sounds like she may have been unwell, but I don't think I would have felt comfortable inviting her into my vehicle either in the circumstances. You did the right thing by calling fire and rescue. Let the professionals deal with the situation unless someone requires immediate first aid. Last year, my spouse and I were hiking at a bird sanctuary, and we kept seeing an elderly man who had arrived by bike. He had no water with him, and it was during an extreme heat wave. He kept coming up to us and asking if he knew where the birds were. He just seemed a bit off. So we walked back to the interpretive center and told the staff what we had observed. They sent someone out to look for him on the trail to see if he was okay. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What would you do if you found yourself in that situation? Would you have picked that person up? Would you have done what OP did? Let us know your thoughts. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. Truly, it's absolutely incredible. And hopefully, we'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.